Hey everyone, welcome back to DBAP Chat. I am Boyd Myers. Today I have Mr. Alex Cherry. I'll just tell you a little bit about him. Alex and I connected on my Twitter feed not very long ago, and my advice is just read his Twitter feed, okay? Now a little bit about this. This is not designed to be a podcast. Alex is a lot more advanced than I am. He has a big, nice microphone, okay? These are conversations that I want to have with people that I find fascinating. And I hope that anyone that listens or watches this picks one thing up, because I'm not out there when I ask who should I chat with, I always get the same platitude people with 50 to 100,000 followers, right? That have a bullshit story. I don't care about that, right? These aren't the people that I'm dying to bring to the world. I am looking for normal people that have been through extraordinary things and came out the other side, who gained strength and got better from it. So without further ado, I have a lot of confidence that, once you hear this guy's story, you're going to be like, holy fuck. His posted tweet on Twitter basically says how I went from drug addict, thief, mentally unstable to being drug-free for 4+ years, about to hit his 5-year mark, mentally stable and respected member of the community. So without further ado, I'm not going to say anything else about it. I'm sure he's cranked up on the white monster just as I am today. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Cherry, what's up, my brother?
Boyd, it is an absolute pleasure to be in a DBAP freaking chat, my friend. I have listened to a few of your episodes prior to this, my friend, and I am sure that I'm going to match the energy that has already come on this show.
Yeah, man, I am excited here because a lot of times, I've had some great guys on so far, right? And Chris and Louis, he's a little charged up, but Chris is just easygoing. And I'm friends with Barefoot Will Austin, who is the polar opposite of you and I. So this should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, Louis is an absolute fucking animal, man. At his age, doing what he is doing, like, I have nothing but applause for him and inspiration that my life is going to be that way when I'm his age. So thank you, Louis, for giving me that, my friend, if you're hearing this.
Yeah, man, and I'm sure he'll listen. I want to say a heartfelt, condolences. Louis lost his father this morning. So, tough. But that guy is a stud, and I have zero doubt that his father, who is an Air Force veteran, it was a proud of the man that Louis has become after 20 years of addiction and alcoholism. Man, he came out there, and I'm glad. I just say, listen, his dad didn't miss anything, man. He's he's got a lot to be proud of. A lot like I expect, Alex, your family. Now, I read your thread, and I know you had a rough start. Man, it was, I can't even do it justice talking about it, man. So I'm going to turn it over to you. I want you to kind of start from the start, man. You've probably told this story a time or two. So wherever you feel comfortable, whatever you feel like sharing, man, let me hear it.
I'm going to tell you what, I have given a speech a lot, and I've been privileged enough this past few weeks. I've been traveling around with some law enforcement. They do a program that just got introduced into Pennsylvania. It's called Luddy. And essentially what that breaks down to is that helps individuals who are addicted to drugs. It gives them the opportunity for law enforcement to help them get recovery instead of going to jail. So it kind of bypasses that, because we realize that drug addicts need rehabs and not jail cells, but sometimes they need both. My case, I needed both to really solidify the fact that I never wanted to go back to that life. I was 22 years old, man. I was at the prime of my life. Life was good. I was a bar manager. I had a shit ton of money. I had all the toys in my garage. I had my own house, and I had 3 of my friends living with me. Life was really good. The problem with that was, though, is I started drinking a lot and smoking a lot of weed, like these things that typical kids are doing, and that quickly progressed. One day, this guy at a party brought over some pills. Pills led to one thing, and it started to kind of roll downhill. And one day we couldn't get the pills anymore. And he said he had another option. What was that option? That option was heroin. I said no. No. I am a classy drug addict. I only do pharmaceuticals. Well, that lasted for about 30 seconds when I broke open that floodgate and said, give me it, because I need to feel better. The progression of drug addiction is very, very quick. No one wakes up one day and says, I'm going to become a drug addict. This is what I want to do. It swoops you up. Through my drug addiction for 3 years, the people I seen doing drugs amazed me. People I never in a million years would have thought did drugs were doing drugs. They didn't expect one day that they were going to do this and become an addict. They were doing it for fun, the same way I was. Well, that fun quickly progresses into suppression, because guess what? You do a lot of shitty things when you do drugs, and you rip off a lot of people, and you hurt a lot of close people in your life, which makes you want to suppress more of those feelings. And what does that mean? You're going to do more drugs. So that rolls downhill. Well, there's a stopping point to that. What is that stopping point? You have no money. So I was in a position where I could steal money because I was a bar manager. I had the codes at the computer where I could do things, and do things I did. I started deleting tickets and started stealing money. Within 7 months, I stole over $11,000 from my employer to feed my drug addiction. And to be truthful, I still think that number is low. You know, I talk to the owner now. We have made amends, and we're actually quite good friends. And we laugh about it sometimes, because I was like, I really think I stole more. You know, it's not something to be funny about. I'm just like, I can't believe it's that less, because I was doing $400 worth of drugs a day. That's how bad my habit got. So it really, really progressed out of freaking control. And it got even worse when I got fired from my job. Of course, the owner found out. He fired me from my job, rightfully so. I was actually that day going to commit suicide when a coworker came to my house to check on me, knocked on the door as I was finishing up my bags when I had my Glock on the freaking table, saved my life that day. But I would spiral out of control for another 8 months before I finally went to jail. Drug addiction literally changes you into somebody that you don't even recognize anymore. The recreational use of drugs is not even fathomable, because 0.001% of the world can recreationally do drugs. And I really believe that, because you are going to get sucked into that feeling of that heavy dopamine release. That's all it comes down to at the end of the day, man. So it has been a wild ride, to say the least.
Man, there's a lot to take in there. Biggest thing is, I mean, I agree with you 100%, man, on a bunch of that. First off, man, I've seen people do drugs that I'm like, holy fuck, you'd never expect that this person can do it. And I agree, man. It's funny because everyone believes they can control it. Everyone believes they're not going to get sucked into that, right? And
not me.
Said, yeah, I mean, dude, listen, dude, there's a reason why my ass never fucking started snorting coke. And it's not because it scared me. It's because I fucking know I have an addictive personality, and whatever I do, God damn it, I'm going to do it better and more than anyone else. And I just figured I probably can't afford that habit. So that's not one I need. Also, too, I don't need anything fucking keeping me up for days at a time, right? Now, that being said, I was fortunate enough. I had a bad example growing up. My father was is an addict, right? And I got to avoid fucking litigation by saying anything else, right? But with that being said, I saw something I did not want to become, right? And I was around a lot of people. Now with that, same thing, I had my best friends in the world that saw the same shit I did, that thought they could control it, that got sucked in. And what you said was, and I'd like for you to talk a little more about this, you start doing shitty things, you got to repress that, you got to not feel bad, you start doing more fucking drugs, right? It becomes a vicious cycle, right? So tell me a little bit about your cycle, right? So you got to the point to where you had ripped off your boss. Now, I mean, that was the man that was paying for your home, right? You had obviously, you probably, that's probably not the only motherfucker you ripped off, right? You hurt more than just yourself, right? Why don't you share a little bit about that with us?
Well, the thing about it was, and what hurt so bad about ripping off the owner of the business I was working at, is he really took me under his wing. You know, he really helped me. He actually paid for my house. I bought my house on a sheriff's auction for $20,000 because the lady had passed away. He paid for it for me, and then I was paying him back. He did so much for me. But when that addiction started rearing its head, it did not matter what he did for me. What mattered more was doing those drugs. You know, it was about 2015, I would say about November-ish. Things were getting really bad with my addiction, and I recognized it. And at this time, no one knew that I was addicted, meaning my girlfriend at the time and my friends. Only one close friend knew I was doing it. No one else did. They had no idea. And I overdosed on November at my girlfriend and my house. And she had no idea what the hell was going on. And like, that's when things started coming to fruition. Fast forward a little bit. So that was December of 2015. January 7th of 2016, and this is a story that I haven't told much on Twitter because I really don't know how to frame it. But January 7th, 2016, I was in Pittsburgh, going to get on a plane to go to Colorado to go skiing. In the middle of the night, my family's home caught on fire. My stepmom and my baby brother didn't make it out of that fire that night. They had passed away. I had gotten the call before I got on that plane. So I stayed back. My father and my baby sister got life flighted down to Pittsburgh, 5 miles from where I was staying at a friend's house. So when that happened, now in my mind, I had an excuse to do more drugs, and my drug use exponentially went up from there. Of course, because I was trying to numb and succumb those pains. You know, throughout that, I was ripping off a lot of people after that because my stealing had to elevate. And why was that? Is because I was doing more drugs and I needed to supply myself with more drugs to get high. So instead of doing the $200 a day, that's when I jumped to 400. And then later it'd be $500, $600 a day. So through that process, you know, I was ripping off, people were giving me donations from my family, and I was taking that money and I was spending it on drugs, you know, and I was doing all this nasty stuff. And then of course, a few months later is when I got fired from my job. And then throughout that, I was ripping off literally anybody I could to get my fix. I cannot go into enough detail to tell you what changes in your mindset. The only thing that matters at the end of the day is you want to get those drugs. That is literally all that matters. Your mind is so warped. And even thinking about it now, I cannot believe I was in that mental state, but I was. Like the amount of people, and the unfortunate part is the people that you hurt the most are the people closest to you. And typically who is closest to you, your friends and family. And those are the people who got the brunt of my horribleness. You know, my dad, my sisters, I had my dad and my two sisters, they broke in, they did some savvy detective work, December of 2017, found me because I sent them a text message. I couldn't find any money to get drugs. I said I was going to kill myself. I sent this message. Basically, it was just a plea for attention at the end of the day. They found me, they broke into this house and they sent me to the psych ward. Unfortunately, that wouldn't be the first time I went to the psych ward. I went 2 more times because I was so mentally unstable from what the drugs had done to my mind. So it's just this loop that was going unchecked because I didn't want to get help. The excuse that I kept going back to was, I'm going to steal from this person. And you know why it's all right? Because I'm going to kill myself right after I do the drugs. That is what I kept telling myself. It doesn't matter that I just literally stole another check from my father, who just lost his wife and his son. It does not matter that that happened to him, because I'm going to steal this check from him, write it out for $1,500, did that twice, and cash it. And then I'm just going to kill myself. And I stole that money right before Christmas. I stole $3,000 from my dad right before that. He didn't even do it. He didn't send me to jail like he wanted to, because he had that sliver of hope. He's like, this is my son. I don't want to do this, you know? And thinking about that time and the emotions that I put him through at that time period, not even a year into the travesty that happened to my family, like that is still a pain that I haven't fully gotten over, because it hurts me. It hurts that I did that to him, but I try my best every day to just live as a better example for him today and be like, hey, I'm here for you. And I'll tell you what, our relationship is 100 times better because of it.
Wow, man. Yeah, I did not know that story, obviously. Man, so I mean, I'd be remiss to talk about anything other than that, right? It's crazy how you said it. I mean, you justify this is, hey, look, my family is hurting. I've lost my mother and my brother, right? My father has lost his wife and son, right? You said your sister, right? You have a sister?
I have 2 sisters. Yeah. Well, 3.
Yeah. Sisters have lost mom and brother, right? But all you can think about is I've got to get high. I've got to numb this pain that I'm feeling, right? It's crazy how it becomes so much about that, right? It goes from smoking and drinking, an occasional oxycodone, right? Classy, right? No different than anybody else is doing, to stealing money from donations after your family's lost. If you've lost, 2 members of your family.
It's
Go ahead.
It's absolutely wild, man. And thinking about those times, like as soon as it happened, January 7th to January 14th, my dad was in a drug-induced coma. He had inhalated so much smoke because he actually ran back into the house twice. The second time he ran back in there, he actually pulled out my baby sister. And had he not gone back in there, my baby sister, who was 8 or 9 at the time, would have stayed in there. So he went back in 3 times, got so much smoke in his lungs that they had to put him in a medical induced coma. And I'm sitting in a hospital room beside his bed and then go into the other hospital where my baby sister's at, blasted out of my mind. I'm the oldest of the family. Everybody's looking at me for direction, which I'm giving it. So there's one caveat to what the bonus of this drugs we're doing is. There was one positive, and I believe it gave me a little bit of confidence, and it numbed those emotions. And had I not had those emotions numbed at the time, I don't know if I could have conducted myself in a manner that would have helped my family. I don't know if I could have been that support. And maybe I could have been. I don't want to discredit that. But like, it helped me kind of like, there's no emotions on drugs. You are just a stone cold nothing. And part of me thinks that was beneficial, but of course that's a very, very, very small sliver. You know what I mean? Right. But it's just a very weird dynamic. But I think back to those times, they actually had to move my dad out of his one room 4 days in because I had done so much drugs in his bathroom, in his room, that I clogged the toilet. And when they said the toilet was clogged, I was like, oh my God, they're going to find all those fucking bags of drugs. And they actually moved them. They never said anything to me about it. But dude, it was just, it's just crazy what, never cross anything off your list. You'll say, I'll never do this. Well, guess what? If you put yourself on a path, you won't even know that you're doing it until it's too late, until the dust settles. Again, I've seen so many people I never thought would have done drugs, do drugs. And then they're doing them, and they're doing things they could never imagine themselves doing because their mindset has changed.
Yeah, it's a hard thing, right? Because, for years, right, when I was growing up, it was don't do drugs. And then I don't even know how realistic that was, right? And then all of a sudden, normal people try something, and then they become just fucking totally hooked. And it happens, dude. You don't have to be a teenager. You don't have to be in your early 20s. Man, I've seen grown ass men have never done anything, and now they've got a freaking dime a day coke habit, right? So I mean, you just don't know, right? But you said a lot, man. That it's so much. It's just almost hard to even digest, right? But a couple of things. You said nobody knew, right? Now let's nail that down, right? Because to me, dude, that makes me wonder how many motherfuckers do I know? Because I think heroin, I think of American Gangster, I think of all the junkies on the street. People sucking people's dick for heroin, right? That's what you think of, right? You don't know, but you said no one, but one person, your closest friend, no one knew. Break down for me how in the fuck nobody knew that you were knocking down $200 to $400 a day of fucking heroin.
Well, the only reason my best friend knew is because him and I started together doing the pills together. That was like our weekend activity. He went to college, came home on the weekends, and that was like our fun little activity, dude. Like, hey, let's get an oxy and let's smoke it. Okay. See, when he left, he didn't realize that I didn't stop for the week. I kept going. He didn't realize that fact, and I never really filled him in. But later down the road, he knew about my whole thing. He's actually a nurse now, my best friend, and I would actually avoid him when my addiction was bad because he could always see my pupils and see him pinned out. And he's like, Cherry, what the fuck are you doing? So he was that guy I tried to avoid. But so again, like you just said, people always imagine these drug addicts just being this strung out piece of shit wearing pajama pants on a 90-degree day, walking out. That's what I envisioned. And that is a big factor as to why my addiction progressed so much, is because I differentiated what drug addicts were. I said drug addicts were pieces of shit. They didn't have jobs. They sat at their house all day. I was none of that. I had a very good job. I had a lot of responsibility. I had money, and I went to work every single day. So I already put myself in a new category, which was really bad for me. So I worked as a bar manager, but really I was just the manager of the bar, but I was also a bartender waiter. I had such high energy. The energy you see now is the energy I took to work every single day on heroin. And if I did not have the heroin, I did not have that energy. I felt like a slug. So again, another common misconception is, oh, you do heroin, you're just blot out all day. No, I had such a tolerance that it would have taken so much money to get me blasted every single day. I wasn't getting blasted. I was literally just maintaining that high. That's all I was looking for. A common term in drug addiction is chasing the dragon, which that breaks down to the very first time you do that drug, that feeling you get, every addict is trying to chase that same feeling, which is almost near impossible to replicate again. So it's just maintaining at that fact. No one knew because I went to work every day. The only reason they could have known is because I was a skinny mini. I had no muscles, and I was like, I'm 5'11", and I was like 130 pounds. I look like complete shit, but no one ever questioned it. You know what I mean? They're like, it doesn't matter. He's a nice guy. He's just small as shit. So no one knew about anything. And it's just really boggles my mind because like, hey, I just went to the bathroom. And if somebody would have been inquisitive and asked questions, or like, I wonder why Alex goes to the bathroom every 45 minutes and he's in there for like 10 minutes, but no one ever asked those questions. No, maybe people had suspicions, but no one really ever said anything to me. So I really kept those lives separate. So I had my drug using friends and I had my regular friends. I never combined those two groups. And of course, in the world of drugs, everybody's really hush hush about who does them. No one really wants to know that you're doing them. So it was really easy to keep those two groups separate, and no one knew about each other until that day in 2015 where I overdosed in my freaking bathroom, and my girlfriend found out. That was when the floodgates started to open, and I'm like, oh shoot. And I didn't even tell my dad until I got fired from my job in June. He had no idea.
That's so crazy. And you mentioned chasing the dragon. In economics, they refer to it as basically diminishing utility, right? With food, for example, when you're starving to death, that first bite of food's the best. After that, it diminishes, right? I'm saying the same thing with getting drunk. You can start a bender at for Friday night, you feel freaking great, get fucked up. And Saturday, you wake up, feel like shit. Hair of the dog, right? Let me pour a beer, start drinking, but you still kind of feel run down. And by Sunday, you're just beat to fucking death, right? And chasing it. You're like, man, I sure wish I felt like Friday night. Have a good time, right? But yeah, that's crazy. And it's crazy to me again, man. My perception of what heroin use looks like, and I would venture to say, I mean, I haven't been around it. I've been around pretty much everything else, but I'd venture to say that people that hear this and the people that watch us, right, I think they're going to be shocked. Let me ask you this: you said how you kind of kept it separate. No one knew, right? So what if they did know? Would that have changed anything?
Depending upon what they were offering. And what I mean by that is what they were going to do with that information that they knew. Were they going to try to threaten it and say, like, I'm going to tell more people? That would have dictated how I acted. You know what I mean? Like, had they said, like, I'm going to tell your boss, well, I respected him, but I respected him in the sense that I didn't think he would do anything with that information. You know what I mean? I thought he would have just said, like, Alex is a really good worker. I could care less what the hell he does because he comes here every day. Everyone loves him. He busts his ass. So like, I don't know what I would have did with that information, to be quite honest. I just want to add one more point that I thought of, to illustrate the craziness of drug addiction, because again, when I had that overdose in November with my girlfriend, when I had that overdose, she put me in the tub. I was incoherent for all this. She never took me to the hospital. She splashed some water on me, blah, blah, blah. And she put me in bed. And I remember waking up about 5 or 6 hours later. It's like 3 a.m. I barely know what happened, but I know something really fucked up just happened. I crawl out of bed. I go to my pants. You know that little coin pocket you have in your pants in there? That's where I always kept my drugs. That was my drug spot. And I waddled over there, barely incoherent. And I fucking seen if I had any more drugs in there. I did. And I did some, and I went back to bed after knowing what I knew. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of illustrates the craziness of what people who are doing drugs are willing to do to get that next high. They don't give a shit what happens. At the end of the day, it just matters to get that fix.
Yeah, man, addictions, it's crazy, right? And all the stuff we know about the human mind. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we don't know a whole fucking lot, right? We damn sure know a lot about addiction, right? We're, the country's, it's not getting better. The war on drugs, we all know how that's going, right? The more money we put into it, it's not getting better. Now we've got fentanyl running across the border, and that's that may fix it. I mean, as fucked up as that is, and the way we don't, that's no one can, it's terrifying. More people died of fentanyl poisoning in the last year than died of car wrecks and gunshots combined, right? So that's crazy. So you ended up you overdosed. Your girlfriend put you in the tub. Either A, she didn't know, or B, she was terrified of what that would do to you, your family, and your professional life if it did come out, right? So her out of fear, she may not have taken the best approach there. God, who knows what to do in that case, right? So you kept it up. You've already got this point. You're stealing. You're from family, from work, and everything else, and then. Just from reading, I know that you hit the wall, proverbial, maybe more than once, right? Talk about that. You said you were put into the asylum, one of 3 times you said?
Yep.
And you went to jail, right? Let's get into that, man. Let's get to
Yeah.
that point. And when did you accept, man, shit's fucked up. I got to do something.
It took a while for that acceptance to come. The very first time I went to the psych ward was December of 2016. The reason that I went there was because I sent that message to my sisters and my father, basically saying goodbye. And the reason for that was I couldn't find any drugs. And again, I don't think I was going to kill myself. I had no plan, but what I wanted to do is I wanted them back in my life. And they had basically said, piss off, Alex, because I literally stolen from every single one of my sisters, including my baby sister and my father. And they basically just had enough. I sent goodbye basically to get them back in my life. It worked in a way that I didn't intend. Again, they found me, they 302'd me, which later got reversed because I admittedly signed myself into the psych ward. So I spent 2016, the first Christmas without my stepmom and my brother, in the psych ward and New Year's. So I spent like a total of 12 days there. And that gets into a whole nother story about what I know now is the psych ward experience was absolutely horrible because they don't do shit to help you. They basically just shove you in a room with a bunch of other people who aren't doing well. And that's basically it. It's really sad, the conditions that people with psychological problems have to go through because it's not beneficial. I go in there, they tack on all these labels to me. You have anxiety, you have depression, you have PTSD. They give me a freaking handful of pills to take a day, and it's just like, what the hell? So I get out of there and that didn't last long. I went for another month and a half, 2 months, kind of went off my rocker again. And I signed myself in because I had nowhere else to go. Basically, everybody just told me to piss off because I was just ruining everything that was around me. So I went back to the psych ward because I knew it was a free place to stay and food and all that jazz. So I went back again. Well, I get out and a few months pass again. Nothing changes because I never change. So the third and final time, I stole from my dad again. And he was threatening to call the police if I did not check myself into the psych ward to get myself back right, because he had no idea what was going on. And bless his heart, because that was the only option that he knew that he could exercise without calling the cops on me. And he didn't want to do that. So I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to do that. So the plan was go to the psych ward, get out of the psych ward, steal from my mom's boyfriend, and then get enough money to commit suicide. Because that was the grand scheme of all this, because I had dug the hole so deep. I was like, there's no coming out of this fucker. I might as well just end it. You know what I mean? Go out with one big bang and just see you the hell later. So that was the grand plan. But the problem with that is my dad didn't know where I was at this third time. And I had stolen a bunch of money from him. And I got really, coming off of drugs, your emotions are going everywhere. So I was in the psych ward for the second day and I was really, really sad, like really sad. And I'm like, I should really call my dad and apologize to him for stealing that money. Well, so I called my dad from the psych ward, told him where I was at, apologized and everything. And at this time, I'm on what they called administrative probation. So I'm not really on probation, but I am because of my crimes. So I called my dad and my probation officer didn't know where I was at. So after I got off the phone with my dad, he called my probation officer and told him where I was at. So the day I think I'm getting out of the psych ward, I'm not getting out. 2 probation officers are coming and saying, you're going to jail early. So then I was like, shit, that ruins my whole plan. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, and it would turn out that it saved my life because I went to jail a month early for the crimes I committed of stealing from my job. So I spent 7 months in jail, and for those first 3 or 4 months, there was no acceptance. The whole game plan for me was jail fucking sucks. I'm going to get out. I'm going to do the plan I intended on doing, which was steal this money, get enough drugs and commit suicide and end this shit. But, the 5th and 6th and 7th month of jail, life started to turn a little bit because I started talking to my family more and I started forming a new connection with them, and like, I was just like, maybe I can get better. And then the real healing started when I went to rehab for 90 days because I met a bunch of individuals who shared the same story as me. My rehab roommate was a guy named Todd, and he's an amazing human being, but he was in about 10 different rehabs and he was an alcoholic. But the knowledge that this man had was bar none. He was absolutely smart as hell, and he changed my perspective on what is possible in my life. And then that's when I started to realize, I'm like, you know what? I think I can fucking do this. And then I got out of rehab, and then that's when I started rebuilding my life. And it's been a uphill journey since then. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that first year of being out of jail and rehab was not the worst year of my life, because, when you have so much status in a community and then you rip that status away and you're literally at zero again, and you're trying to build back up, it gets really, really hard because it's an uphill battle and you're just trying to prove yourself 24/7. And I'm thankful that I didn't quit. And I believe that's why a majority of addicts do quit and relapse and unfortunately die, is They're not ready to put in the footwork that is necessary to rebuild those relationships and to rebuild yourself. They think that they're going to get instant gratification. Life's going to go back together just like that. But it doesn't happen that way. You have to put in the work with whatever it is in life that you want to do. You got to put in the work. And if you're not going to put in the work, you're not going to get the results.
Yeah, man, beautifully said. You said a couple things there were great. And I want to start from the end there. You're 100% right. It's I think that is a big reason why a lot of people relapse, because they don't know. I mean, the battle just starts when you start getting sober, right? And you're like, I mean, every day, and it's probably just easier to say, oh, fuck it, get high, right? You mentioned when you went in, and this is crazy, right? And again, I don't know the answers. I don't know how we fix mental health in this country, but I know there's something has to be done. You went in, they gave you a laundry list of labels, right? And we hear this week, and I want to say this, right? I mean, I was around the bodybuilding community for a while, right? And it's crazy. So when people talk about drug use, I can relate to a whole different type of drug use, right? The overuse of stimulants. I know guys that were addicted to painkillers because of lifting injuries, and in my mind, I could justify it. That wasn't me. Never been a painkiller guy or anything, but anabolic steroids, things. I mean, you get stuff that gets you cranked up, and then at night you can't sleep. You're irritable. At night you start looking. I mean, I know guys taking GHB to sleep, bro. I mean, think about that, right? But the funny thing is, and this goes back to my ex-wife, a school teacher, right? And how labels, right? And how every kid, a good majority of children, this isn't just from her. I've got a lot of friends that are teachers. This kid's ADHD. This kid's depressed. This child is hyperactive. This guy's got ADD, whatever, anxiety, right? And it was crazy because kids would come into school and tell the teacher, right? I've heard 1,000 teachers tell me this, Mr. So-and-so, I didn't have my medicine this morning, so I'm probably going to have a bad day, right? So you go in, and the first thing they do is tell you all this shit, right? It's not wrong. It's just you have these disorders, and they hand you a handful of fucking pills, right? So you're in there partly because of your relationship with pills and such, right? But now we're going to make it okay. We're going to give you legal pills, right? These are prescribed. This is okay, right? I mean, I just think that's completely ironic. What you say?
Well, what's even funnier is, and I found this after the fact because I did some research on this, because I'm not very happy with the psychology community, if you say. And actually, I have a sister who just graduated her master's of psychology. So her and I banter about this, and we agree on a lot of the same things. But what I found out about addiction is you cannot classify a drug addict through the DSM, which is the manual for mental health diseases, within 6 months. They need 6 months to be sober before you can even diagnose them with anything, depression, anxiety, PTSD, because their mind is not in the right mental framework. So they're slapping these labels on me prematurely, giving me these pills, which made me feel like a zombie. And they never asked me about the real things, because of course I'm a drug addict. What do you think my diet's like? It's probably not very good, wouldn't you say? Because I'm a drug addict, and I probably don't get that much sunlight either. And I'm definitely not exercising because I could care less about my body. Like, they're not asking the questions that matter. What they're asking is a cookie cutter questions like, how does this make you feel? How does this make you feel? Well, guess what? I'm in this room and I can't leave. It makes me feel like shit, to be quite honest. And these pills aren't going to help the fact that my life is in total shambles right now. So, and of course it sucks because the caseloads for a lot of these individuals, like, there's only 2 psychologists at that place I was at, and there was probably over 75 residents in this facility. So you got 2 psychiatrists that got to run through 75 different cases. A psychologist is seeing over 20 people a day. So I don't blame them for just being rash and fast with the decisions, but at the same time, like, there's got to be some changes here, because I'll tell you what, the amount of frequent flyers in that facility, I'm going to tell you what, I went there 2 times. 2 times I met up with 3 of the same people I was in there with the first time. And a majority of the people who were in there multiple times. So if the thing worked, there wouldn't be the frequent flyers, but it doesn't work. But nobody wants to take the time because it's such a deep issue to fix. So nobody's taking the time to fix it.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Yeah, that's and again, I don't know, that is so far beyond me, because it's the same thing with almost everything medical right now, right? We got so many health issues that to ask those questions, like, hey, how's, like, let's really discuss how you're eating. Let's talk about your exercise. Let's get you out in some sunlight. No, dude, it's easier to just label you, say, hey, you're pre-diabetic, take this, right? I mean, there's I mean, God Almighty, for fuck's sake, right? There's a million ways to go between taking medicine and being a pre-diabetic and being fucking healthy. I mean, I mean, even being diabetic, you can reverse so many cases of that, right? But hey, my doctor didn't say that. My doctor, or they asked, hey, is it reversible? Doctor's like, yeah, basically no. I mean, because the shit that got you here is going to keep you here, and you're probably not going to reverse it. You made a good point. And I thought this for a long time, and you probably saw me start writing it down, like, I'll hustle. So you were in jail, right? You said for the first, several months, you're like, fuck this, man. I'm pissed off. Let me get out and get fucked up. And then it flipped. But you later told me that, hey, if somebody's a drug addict, you can't label them based on the DSM for 6 months. It happened to coincide that you were roughly at about your 6-month mark of sobriety in jail, to where your mind started unwinding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can say this from an alcohol standpoint, okay? I don't care if it's, a few beers a day, if a fucking 6-pack a week or whatever. I can tell you numerous times in my life, especially if I'm going into prep or something, once you take 6 weeks off a fucking beer, man, of alcohol, right, that nobody thinks there's a problem, right? At the 6-month mark, that 5 to 6 month mark, I can tell you undoubtedly. I mean, listen, source me, motherfucker, right? That's my source, right? There's your source for people that are obsessed about these fucking studies.
Yeah.
I can tell you at the 6-month mark, everything changes. You're clear-headed. That anxiety that you may have after a hangover, I mean, that, the point of view you have on life, your well-being is markedly better after 6 months, right? So at your 6-month mark, after being in the psych ward and in jail, you start having a little bit of clarity. Your heart opened up a little bit, right? Tell me, let's elaborate a little bit on that if you can.
Yeah, and it was a 6-month month, and great job picking that up. The funny thing about it is at that 6-month mark, our brain does an amazing thing. It actually heals itself through a process called neuroplasticity. So it literally rewires the way you think. And the conditions that I was in at the time was jail. And I happened to be in there in the middle of a drug bust operation called Operation Snail Mail. So they had over 35 individuals in this meth ring come to the same jail I was at in that time. And I got to see firsthand a lot of these individuals who had been in jail multiple times. They were frequent flyers, and it was nothing to them. I could care less who fucking calls me a bitch for this. I cried almost every day for the first month I was in jail. I had never been to jail before. I lost all my freedom, everything. I got a squatting cough. I get patted down every time I go to a new room. I fucking hated it. And it made me really sad. So I cried almost every day. And to see these people come in here not giving two shits, it's almost like a vacation for them. They don't have to watch their kids, or they don't have to deal with their old lady. They're in jail. It's like a vacation. They get to play cards. And I'm like, fuck this, guys. This is the stupidest thing I've ever fucking heard. Fuck this shit. You know what I mean? And at that 6-month mark, I was just like, you know what? I'm dedicated to never, ever being in this fucking situation again, because fuck having to share in this bathroom with everybody. Fuck having only one temperature for this goddamn shower, because I only press a button and it starts out cold as shit, then it gets hot as fucking Satan's balls. And you're like, this sucks. This sucks. You know what I mean? So it was at that moment, I'm like, all right, I could literally die. But at that point, I didn't even want to die anymore, because I started seeing a glimmer of hope in my life. I'm like, so you either got two options, Alex. So you already said you don't want to die. So you might as well start fixing your fucking life. And then that's when that change started to occur. I'm like, there's got to be something different. There's got to be something different. And God bless my family, because they were the huge catalyst in this, because they still talk to me after all the shit I put them through. I still called them every week from jail. They answered the phone. They talked to me. Granted, they may not have been thrilled to talk to me, because I put them through some shit, but they talked to me. And with each phone call, our relationship got better and better and better. And it was just building upon that. And it was learning for myself. The biggest thing I had to realize, and it's something I've already said, is I'm a person, and I think a lot of people are this way. If they see something, they want it right now. And I'm no different. Anything I see, I want it right now, and I want to find out how to get it. And that is no different for human relationships. If I fucked you over, I want us to go from fucked over to best friends, 0 to now. I don't even want to do all the work. So I had to put my thoughts of instant gratification and fixing my family situation on back burner and be like, all right, this is going to take some time, energy, and patience to rebuild this relationship, because I did a lot of fucked up shit to them. So I need to realize my place in this. So it takes some time, and I'm thankful I came to that realization. But my gosh, had I knocked on a jail, it would have been a very bad outcome for me.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, and drugs are a lot about instant gratification, right? And there's a lot, I mean, so what you said there was, yeah, I wanted the shit fixed, right? And hey, man, I can reflect here. I have zero doubt. I'm the guy, if I'm pissed off, right? And this took work. This took a lot of fucking work for me, right? I'd say something angry that it wasn't directed at anybody. It was just fucking anger. And when you have that bad energy, right, it affects a room, man. It affects, wife, kids, or whatever, family, mom, dad, right? I'd say something fucked up, angry, mad, pissed off, or whatever. And then I was over it, right? And I'd never understood. I mean, until I did. I mean, many years later, it took me a while to understand. Like, dude, that fucks people up. It scares people. It freaks them out, and it hurts. Whether it's directed at them or toward them at all whatsoever, it can be frightening, right? To be that way. So, what you mentioned was, man, you finally came to the realization that the only way through it is through it, right? Mm-hmm. There's no shortcuts, right? So you did your time, right? You got out, you started, hey, you understand, like, I've got some work to do. I've got to rebuild the status in the community. I've got to rebuild trust in my relationships. I've got to earn my family back, man. Tell me about the time of leaving incarceration to getting a level of somewhat normalcy.
Yeah, that first year was really interesting. And looking back at it, I don't know what was inside me that I didn't quit. And I cannot believe I didn't quit, to be honest, because I was so fragile as a person in those first few months of getting out of rehab. My confidence was literally, it was at the all-time high, and it literally went down to the negatives. So I don't know how I survived, but I'm thankful I did. There was something inside of me. But when I first got out of rehab, my dad wouldn't let me move back with him. And I had to move with my mom. And my mom and I's relationship my whole life was really, really rocky. And she was actually an alcoholic a majority of her life. And I seen some shit that she went through, and we didn't have a close relationship because she loved the booze more than she loved her kids. And I had only one option to move to her house. The thing about her house is she is a fucking slob. You know what I mean? Her house is absolutely disgusting. And I had no choice, so I had nowhere else to go. So I lived there for about 2 or 3 months. And my dad finally seen, he's like, you know what? I think you're actually on the course to being a better person. So he thankfully let me move back in. So through that time, the very first job I got was literally a minimum wage job working in a factory, literally $7.50. I barely made $300 in a bi-weekly paycheck. It was fucking insane. And that hurt. But guess what? That gave me the motivation to get a better job. So a month later, I found a better job and I jumped to that job. I lasted 2 weeks at that job before I put my 2 weeks notice in, because I got a better job. And guess what? A month later, I got a better job. So with each job transition, I not only did I make more money, but my confidence grew, because I'm like, oh, see, the problem was when I got out of rehab, I was like, shit, I have a criminal record. I have 2 fucking felonies on my record now, access device fraud and forgery, because I forged something. So I was like, I got these 2 felonies. Who the fuck is going to hire me? But through those job processes, I realized something. I was building my confidence up, and I'm like, if I can get in front of these people who are interviewing me and they can talk to me, they can see that I'm not that person I was before. I can articulate myself. I'm an intelligent guy. Please talk to me. I've changed my life. And it worked every single time. Where I landed at my last job, I worked there for about 6 months. A supervisor's position came up. I bid for it, because I bid for every freaking job that came up there, because why the hell not? And I bid for that job. I wrote an essay for it. I interviewed for it. And wouldn't you know, I fucking got it. And then that's where my confidence went through the fucking roof, because I just applied and bid for a job that I had no position and getting, because like supervisor of a fucking powder metal factory, what do I know about powder metal? I'm just a foot soldier. But they gave it to me because you know what they seen in me? They seen somebody who was not afraid to say, I don't know. I don't know how to do this, and ask for help. And I did that. And that's where I really formed this muscle to not be that egotistical asshole to say, I know everything. I started opening up my mind to the possibility of learning something. And I carry that lesson to this day. I'm not afraid to say, I don't know, please teach me. It doesn't matter. So like that first year of jumping jobs helped me build the confidence to where I'm at today, because, you know, it was a very bleak at the start. You know, I have this criminal record. Who the hell is going to hire me? I'm going to be a shit person the rest of my life because I have this record. I'm going to, you know, just be like every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's getting government assistance. Like I didn't want that for my life. I knew there was a different possibility. It just took a while and a lot of footwork to build that up. And again, that's where a majority of people fail with anything they do in life, but especially drug addiction, because they're not willing to put the fucking work in. Guess what? The work fucking sucks ass in anything that you do and anything that you want in life. But if you really fucking want it, you got to put in the work. You know, an unfortunate thing is last week, actually a few days ago, this gentleman that I was going to start helping to get clean from a drug addiction, I've seen him multiple times, just look like complete hell. And I was like, hey man, I will help you. I gave him my number and he never reached out to me. Seen him 4 different times. Always said, text me, my friend, I will help you. I was going to take him to the gym. I was going to help him get his diet right. You know, just give him that confidence. Never reached out to me. Guess what happened to him about 5 days ago? He died from an overdose. This shit happens left and right because people are not willing to put in the work, because they've solidified it in my mind. I'm never going to be able to do this. That is worse than cancer, I believe. That thought process of I can't do this. That is more detrimental than anything that you will fucking do.
Man, that's you fucking just knocked it out of the park with that right there, brother. Well, a couple things, man. First off, you went back to, you had to overcome seeing yourself as a 2-time felon.
Yeah.
Right? And when you started seeing yourself different, it was amazing. Other people started seeing you differently, right? Isn't that crazy? I mean, that goes anyway, man. You can see yourself as a fat fuck, as a lazy fuck, as somebody who can't stick to things, as somebody that's going to fail, that's going to come up short, that can't fucking go do a race, that can't lose weight, that can't get smarter, can't start a business, can't find a wife, can't find a husband, can't raise their fucking kids. And you get trapped in that, right? And you're just like, woe is me, fuck this. And you don't do the fucking work, right? And the big thing was when it changed for you was when you started just applying, you started working, you started doing the fucking work. And it's funny behind me, you can't see it, I've got it right here. Either you'll suffer because you did the work or you'll suffer because you didn't, right? But either fucking way, you're going to suffer, right? But like I say, the suffering always ends. Just fucking put yourself into the fire, right? Now, you get through that, you get promoted a bunch of times, right? I lost track. I should have been keeping tallies on how many times you got promoted. You got me fired up now. I think the monster kicked in, right?
Yes.
And then, you said it. You said your willingness, and you didn't say this exactly, but the more uncomfortable you got, the more you grew. And that's what we talk about all day long. We're on there. We're talking about the willingness to grow, the growth mindset. Now, obviously, you're fucking jacked, brother. You don't look like a fucking meth addict or a heroin addict, right? Or either one of them. You don't have a tapeworm. A lot of these fucking guys get on here and they just were fat and they starved themselves and lost weight, and now they're a fucking fitness expert, brother, right?
Oh, yeah, now, a lot of those.
We got a lot of those.
Or the dude who shares his picture when he was 16, now he's 17 and jacked. I don't fucking know. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever saw, I'll find it, I'll send it to you, man. I did this, I was making fun of that shit, and I showed a picture of me at 16 and me at fucking 46, like, hey man, 7 weeks difference, and I'm obviously got a fucking gray beard and shit.
Yeah, so, right?
Yeah, and you know how I feel about those guys. Now, that growth mindset, obviously, that transferred from, man, just get day to day, get a little fucking better. Let me get something where I can go to Subway and buy a sandwich if I want, to, man, now, motherfucker, now I feel confident. Like I'm getting in front. You've got your own podcast. You're fucking jacked. You're lifting. You're sharing your story. But here's the thing, man. There's no end. You're still growing, man. Tell me how Alex is growing today.
I want to first touch on this is people will look at me and people will look at you like you're fucking out here putting in the work every day, doing Ironmans, fucking busting your ass, putting the work in. And I'm over here changing my life, working out and just pushing myself. And people look at those examples and they're like, I will never fucking be that, which is their first mistake because they already closed their door off to that possibility. They don't realize how long it takes to get to this point of mental resilience. You don't just wake up one day because you journaled about it the night before and said, I'm going to be more mental resilient, and wake up the next day with that confidence of that person. It takes a long time of compounding growth to build that confidence up to where you're at. I'm 4.5 years clean. Did I have this confidence 3 years ago? No. Did I have it 2 years ago? No. Did I have it last year? No. Did I have it 2 months ago? No. I'm continually adding to that compound growth of my confidence and everything else. I'm pushing myself a little bit more. You know, it may be a platitude, but 1% better each day is something I try to fucking live by, because I don't give a shit how you were yesterday, Boyd. I care about how I was yesterday. Was I better? Am I better today than I was yesterday? Yes, that's all that fucking matters at the end of the day. Who am I today? Is that your question?
Yeah, man. I mean, tell me about how you're growing today.
Dude,
what?
You know,
before that, I mean, I want to, well, yes, we're going to ask out. Write that down. I want to know how you're going today. But I want to say one thing, man. You touched on something I said. Dude, you got to callous the fucking mind, brother. This ain't something, you don't wake up with it. You got to put in pain. And I say it every fucking day. You are capable of more than you can imagine, right? Mm-hmm. You and we've got marked shit we've been through, right? You fucking addiction. I mean, fucking, I don't know, high level. I mean, dude, everybody's fucked up, right? So I'm not going to call you fucked up, but you were an addict. You fucking went to jail. You spent 7 months in the fucking can, right? You got out, you built your shit back, right? You damaged relationships with your family. You lost your stepmother, right? You lost your stepmother and your brother in a fucking fire. Brother, my house burnt down when I was 14 and my family got out by the skin of their fucking teeth, bro. I've been there. I mean, I was on a field trip and I found out I lost everything, but my family was still alive. So I can only fucking imagine. And so you've been through this right here. I lived in a combat zone. There in about a 2-year period, my ex-wife and I went through 3 pretty mid to late term miscarriages. I grew up as a son of a hateful fucking addict. That was a functioning addict, man. He was a freaking high level supervisor in the coal mine. So it's funny. Now looking back, I think, man, it was funny. How did we not know, right? We just thought he was just an angry asshole. He was angry and pissed off because he couldn't get his fix. We figured that out much fucking later. We'd always find cash and fucking an Uzi, bro. I was like, who the fuck has an Uzi, right? If you have it, you're just shooting a I mean, and it was funny, man. Like all my friends growing up would say, dude, it was crazy. So I've never shared this story, but I'm like, you got me thinking back, right? Before I knew, this is a crazy thing. So I always knew there was these hardcore guys that were like drug dealers, right? Even in my little small redneck town, guy had a 64 Impala fucking popping it and stuff, right? He's just no country white dude. He had a 69 Camaro that looked amazing. He had all these fucking cars. He lived with his parents, right? And I was always told that's a bad fucking dude. Stay away from that guy, right? So I'm out one night. He's in his car, and I got to see this fucking car. It's like a 67 Firebird or whatever, something like that. It was orange, and it had gangster across the window. I had to see it, bro. Had to see it. I go over, and this guy's known to be a dickhead, to be an aggressive dickhead. And he's like, what's up? And he's like, he's probably 9 years older than me. I said, hey, man, nice car. And another guy said, dude, told him who my dad was. Dude, this guy, like, and it took years later, it hit me. I was like, no shit. He was like, oh, fuck, man. He's a great man. And I'm like, what? Right? Like the fuck? I know my dad was a shot caller. What the fuck are we talking about? Right? I had no idea, right? So it's funny. You talk about it. Nobody knew. Well, fuck, man. It's also, there's a big part of that. We don't always want to know, right? Yeah. We want to see people how we see them, right? Now, you said it. You put in the work, you dip yourself in. It doesn't happen overnight. Here's the other part of that. And people say it kind of bothers me when you say, hey, I'm bulletproof, right? No, you're not, right? We're all doing everything we can not to stumble, right? And whether that looks like addiction, whether it looks like depression, whether it looks like going back into obesity or whatever, you better be ready to put in those fucking reps every single day. Because if you don't, man, hey, 1% better every day Yeah, I mean, it's platitude because half these motherfuckers aren't doing anything, right? They're just talking a bunch of shit, right? Whatever. I don't care about those motherfuckers. But anybody that I know is putting in the work that says get 1% better every day, fucking focus. Quit being a pussy. Don't be a pussy. Quit being a bitch, whatever, right? It's not platitude at all in that case, right? So as long as you're putting the fucking reps in and you continue to work toward it, the mind's a powerful thing, man, but it can also be the most fucking restrictive prison. There's no physical building that can fuck you up worse than the mind can. So going back to our original thing, man, tell me what that looks like for you today.
You know, growth is not always linear. And I've learned that, especially this past 6 months, just on this Twitter journey. You know what I mean? 1% better each day.
Growth is never fucking linear, my man.
No,
it's never linear.
Yeah, exactly. There's ups, there's down, there's lefts, there's rights. Sometimes you do a circle and sometimes you just get stagnant. This last 6 months, especially, to put it in perspective, like just doing this Twitter journey, you know, there are days where I'm really fucking on, maybe for a week, maybe for 2 weeks, but maybe I'll get down in the dumps for 2 or 3 days. But the biggest thing about that is it's all right to get in the dumps. But the thing is, you better learn from that fucking experience and learn how to not make it happen again. So there's been a bunch of times this past few months that I've stumbled and fallen and fell in the fucking pits of woe is me, poor me. But guess what? I learned from that and I never did it again. I'm still making mistakes, but guess what? Now I'm learning from them and realizing, all right, what can I do to prevent me doing that again? And I just keep patching the boat. And that's all it is. Majority of people, again, they hit that first sign of adversity and they say, wow, I'm never going to be this. Fuck it. It's just pointless. You know what I mean? And they stop. And then it's like, all right, just like you just shared that quote, you're going to suffer from doing it or you're going to suffer from not doing it. You know, and I paraphrase there, but that's what it fucking is. And the suffering from not doing it is going to be 100 more times fucking painful than the suffering from doing it. So it's just about pushing myself now and just realizing when I fuck up, when I stumble, all right, let's take a step back. Why did I fuck up? Oh, guess what? This is why I fucked up, because I'm trying to do 5 different things at one fucking time and be good at all of them. That's why. Maybe I should scale that down to one thing and see what the fuck happens. So that's all it is. It's learning and continuous growing. And no one has that growth mindset. Too many fucking people are stuck in that fixed mindset, which gets them nowhere. And the pain, what pushes me forward is I never want to be the person I was before. And I want to be better. And that image I have in my head of that nice life that I want, and of course it involves money, but the difference about that money is now I want to buy back my time. I could give a fuck less about that materialistic shit. If I could wear these Walmart beaters every day and these Nike shorts that I've been wearing for 4 years every single fucking day, I would. Because I don't care about the material shit anymore. I care about buying my time back so I can do what the fuck I want to do, which is be jacked in the best shape of my life and be hard to fucking kill. Like that is my dream life. And of course, spend time with my loved ones and my family. Like that is what I want to do. That's what I enjoy.
Yeah, man. No, you said it beautifully, right? I'm wearing a free shirt that I got at the fucking supplement store. First Storm, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm the same way. And I think I've had this pair of Under Armour shorts I've got on. I believe I've had them since 09, 08. Yeah, they're fucking falling apart. Yeah, that's my favorite shit, though. And people joke about it, you know, because, you know, I quit my fucking job. I was like, fuck this, man. I'm done. I don't care about all this stuff. Now I want time, man. I've got a little girl. I want to build relationships. I want to get to know fucking people. You know, I mean, I want to spend time with my family, with my children, just and moving forward, man. I mean, I've wasted so much time chasing fucking money for stuff, right? And stuff's nice. Don't get me wrong, man. When you fucking can't eat, you can't pay the fucking mortgage or the rent, nothing else fucking matters. You got to make money, right? So don't fucking get me wrong there. And you know, but also too, man, world's in a fucked up place, right? So I want to do everything I can. Like, hey, man, I got to fortify for me. And that's important right there because you said it. Once you think you've got it figured out, you are fucked, right? You stop improving. And it's funny, all these fucking gurus, right? All these gurus everywhere sit on their throne and tell everybody in the world how to do this and how to do that, right? And look, man, I say it, your hardest thing is your hardest thing, right? We've had some shit we've gone through, man. I've got buddies that went to war, went to battle, and 2 of them came back, right? Like together, dude. I mean, and so, I mean, everybody's hardest thing is your hardest thing. But when your hardest fucking thing is You blacked out one night in college, and you beat addiction, or you lost fucking 50 pounds. Now let me tell you how to fix your entire life. Man, I don't have a lot of fucking patience for that, right? And here's what I know. Here's what I know. I'm an optimistic person. Alex, I believe you're going to build your life, and you're going to build your economy. You're going to build your mindset to where shit's not going to fuck you up, right? There's nothing that can happen that's going to be fucking exponentially worse than what you've been through. I know that, right? These motherfuckers that are afraid to test themselves, that are afraid to grow, shit is about to get real bad. If the worst thing you've ever gone through in your life is the fact that you were locked down for 18 months and you couldn't go see this person or that person, you couldn't go sit on fucking patios and eat tacos and drink beer. If that's the worst thing you've ever faced, motherfucker, you wait till the electricity kicks off for a month in August or September or whatever. You wait until there's no food, right? We're worried about baby formula, bro, which is fucked up, right? You wait till there's a total food shortage, and I hope that never happens. But dude, I'm not convinced that we're not heading in that direction, right? People say, oh man, you're fucking crazy. Because people don't want to think about the worst thing, right? People would rather think, let's be optimistic, let's be optimistic. Well, if you're paying a little bit of attention, your optimism better be, and all right, how do I get me ready? How do I get my fucking mind ready? When the rest of the world fucking loses its mind and they hit the fucking, it says break glass in case of emergency, motherfucker, I'm the glass. You break it and you're looking at me right now. What are you doing to when they break glass and they look at you to say, motherfucker, we got this?
See, that's the problem as well, is a majority of people who go through hard times in their life, they try to shut that hard time away and never look at it again, when they should be examining that hard time. Because guess what? As you said it perfectly, the more shit you go through in life, it calluses your mind. So down the road, that shit that would have affected you before, you're like, well, it's not as bad as this. Nothing in my life in the past 4.5, almost 5 years that has happened will never touch what it transpired 4.5, 5 years ago. It calloused my mind so hard, and I hated that time period of my life. I wouldn't trade it for the freaking world. And the reason for that is it made me this person that does not give a shit about the little things in life. Oh, poor me. I don't have $500 to buy the new Apple Watch. I don't have this to do this. It's like, who gives a fuck about that? You know what I mean? Like, oh, I didn't get this job. Well, guess what? It doesn't fucking matter, because I'm going to get this job. Oh, I didn't get this client. Well, it doesn't fucking matter, because I'm building myself up and I'm going to get this client. It's all about learning from those failures and pushing yourself forward. The baddest thing that happened to you is the baddest thing that happened to you. But guess what? If you can turn it into a positive, there is a silver lining in every one of those situations. The silver lining of losing my stepmom and my brother and going through addiction, you know what I mean? It made me value the relationships with the family I have alive. We are very, very close now. We talk almost all the time. It's brought us so close because we have realized everything can be gone like that. So you better value what's here right now. So like, there's a silver lining in everything, but not enough people are looking for that silver lining. They just rather lock that situation in the back of their mind and never fucking look at it again. But they don't realize that that situation is in the back of their subconscious back there, dictating the chances they're going to take in life, and is significantly going to fucking drop because they're holding themselves back because they're afraid. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, man, that's fucking perfectly said. That's why I'm glad I got you on here, because I've learned this. I've learned all the fucked up shit. All that stuff, that's what made me who you see right here, the guy that's on here ranting and carrying on all the time, right? I mean, that's a big part of me. It's all of me. It's the good stuff and the bad stuff, right? And a lot of people, they do everything they can to ignore it. But if you feel the need to ignore it and put it out, oh man, it's fucking you up more than anything else in the world, right? Or the other part of that, I know fucking guys that have been divorced for 20 years that still fucking dwell on losing their fucking wife. 20 years.
Yeah.
Or I got a fucking friend that cries about this fucking dog that died like fucking 25 years ago, bro. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? You haven't moved on? I mean, I'm sorry, right? So I agree, man. You can ignore it, you can dwell on it, or you can fucking embrace it, right? And you can say, hey, fuck it.
You said it perfectly. I think it was today or yesterday in one of your tweets. You're like, I listen to Rogan, I listen to Cam Hanes, I listen to David Goggins, the baddest motherfuckers on this planet, and so am I. And you know what is synonymous between all you guys and myself? We all have fucked up stories. But guess what? We spun those fucked up stories to put in our gas tank to fucking make us unstoppable. And the difference between us and the other people is they let that fucking pain chain them to the ground. That doesn't elevate them. You're people like us are using that as fuel to say, you know what? Never fucking again. You know, and that's what it comes back to. Like reading David Goggins' story, like dude had a fucked up childhood. Cam Hanes, same story. You know, like these stories of fucked up shit. The most impressive people in this world have the most fucked up stories. And why? Because they use that as fucking rage and hate to fucking go out there and they're on a 10-mile run and in mile 5, they're like, oh, fuck this. And then they reach into that cookie jar, as David Goggins would say, like, oh, this motherfucker. Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? So it's fucking wild, man. But that differentiates people in this fucking world. And sadly, the fucking turntables are turning to a majority of the people would rather embrace mediocrity and fucking let that pain hold them down than to use it as fuel for the fucking proverbial gas tank. Because why? Because society is conditioning you. It's all right to be sad. It's all right. Big is beautiful. Oh yeah, get a donut if you get the jab. It's like, what the fuck are you doing to society? You are fucking making them soft.
Yeah, man. Great. You know, good times have made a lot of weak men who are creating fucking hard times, right? We say that all the time. And dude, it's crazy. I have a lot of conversations about this. It's you're right, embrace everything, right? It's crazy how many guys who fucking basically want to put for it's like, and I've called it the Facebook effect, right? You see the highlights of everyone's lives. And you've got these fucking people coaching you on how to freaking live the optimal life, right? Nah, hell no, man. That's why I gravitate toward the David Goggins, toward the Cameron Hanes guys, toward Rogan, toward Jocko, right? The fucking hardest motherfuckers that ever lived. Because listen, man, I can't learn anything from somebody that's lived the perfect life, right? They were born in a nirvana. Dude, congratulations, brother. I'll tell you what, it ain't me, right? I listen, and I get it. And Alex, you're gonna face this the further you go on this journey, right? Dude, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? I listen, there's a lot of motherfuckers message me like, dude, at first you scared the fuck out of me. And well, whatever. I think you're fucking insane, but man, that really hit home. Dude, I'm not for everybody, Alex. I guarantee you, you're not for everybody, brother. You're a lot closer to me than you are. Some names I'm not going to say. That fucking one jackwagon I fucked up the other day, right? I hate to choose violence, right? But sometimes I'm like, you know what, dude, don't start fucking coaching veterans going through hard times when your ass ain't ever been in the fucking military, right? So I had to, choose violence that day, right? But anyway, man, let's not dwell on me fucking people up on Twitter. Tell me, my man, what is next for you?
Dude, right now I am blessed enough to be helping some individuals going through some hardships in their life. To rewind a little bit, the main point of my life right now is just to get better, to really find out where I can provide value to people. I haven't exactly figured it out. I'm a man like everybody else who has many talents. How do you niche down to one thing? Like, that's what everyone says is like, niche down. It's like, no, I have a lot of fucking interests that I like to talk about that I happen to be very versed in because I went through them in my life. There's no better teacher than experience. So I know some things. So basically, I'm just putting my message out there, my story out there, and whoever I can help, I can help. And the biggest thing is, even when I put that thread out, my pinned thread, do you know how many people reach out to me and said, I'm going through this. I got over a dozen fucking messages from people who said they're either going through it or they have a family member going through it. This problem with substance abuse runs deep. It's something near and dear to my heart because it's something I went through as well. So basically, all I want to do is put the value out there I can and put my voice out there and put my story out there, because there's a lot of people who would benefit from hearing that story. And there's a lot of people who have been in my shoes who are unwilling to put their story out there. So I'm doing my part because, my gosh, last year, 2021, we had over 100,000 overdose deaths. That really gets brushed under the fucking rug. And that problem is only getting worse. And why is that? Life sucks for a lot of fucking people because they've gotten comfortable. And of course their life fucking sucks and they need fucking help. And if I can help them not embrace fucking mediocrity, that's my whole stint. Fuck mediocrity, reject that shit. You will be happier in the long run. These people who have lives that live without meaning and without purpose, Discipline, and Jocko says this all the fucking time, and people who cannot wrap their minds about discipline equals freedom. The more disciplined I am in my fucking life, the better I feel. You know, discipline does not cage you in. People think, oh my God, you have to go to bed at this time, wake up at this time. Like, I'm not that stringent on that. It's just saying like, hey, I know how I perform my best. And the discipline I put in my fucking life, like you want to fucking sit and watch Netflix all fucking night when I would rather stretch out, do some mobility work and get a good night's rest. Granted, it's only 5 hours, but I still rock out like a motherfucker. And I wake up in the goddamn morning and I'm ready to fucking go on a run. You know what I mean? Like, that is me, because I don't give a fuck. I slept for 5 hours, almost 6 hours a day. But guess what? I still got up and went for a fucking 2-mile run this morning and did 250 push-ups outside. Like, that's what I did. And guess what? I felt like $1 million after that. So I just want to put value out there to whoever can grasp onto it and bring them a little bit of hope to push forward. Because I know that there are some posts that I've seen in my past when I was in drug addiction, and these people don't even fucking know it, but they helped me out. Why? Because they were putting their message out into the world. And that's all it is at the end of the day.
Man, hell yeah, dude. That's a big part of it, brother. I have zero doubt that you keep sharing your story, you keep sharing your wisdom. Dude, fuck niching down, right? I mean, it sounds great, but dude, you're right. Your experiences are too vast to be painted into a corner, right? So my advice, if that means anything at all to you, would be, dude, you keep doing your thing. Hey, look, man, that's why I chose you. I'm like, look, man, not enough people have heard this story. Not enough people know this. And fuck, I didn't know 99% of it. Mm-hmm. So, man, one thing I've been doing on this because I mean, I like keeping it just as much conversational as we can. And just to be total transparency, Alex and I have never spoken in person this way. We passed a couple of videos back and forth, just like in DMs. I prefer to do that versus message a lot of times anyway. So, Alex, let me ask you, man. If anything, like, and this is kind of corny, anything you want to ask me about, I don't care, fire away, man. I'm an open book. What is something you're wondering? Don't ask me about those fucking shirts, because that's a painful thing. I'll tell you, trust me, I'm about to just fucking single source each fucking shirt until I get my big load in and just sell those fucking things. So anything you want to ask me about anything, fuck it, man. You got me. Go.
Yeah, man. You know, some I'm really interested in is because there's some days, and I know we all have them, and some people are open to talking about them and some people aren't. You know, those days where you really don't want to fucking do it. And there's got to be a day where you just don't do it. Is there ever a day that you just like kind of fall into that thing like, fuck this, I'm not going to do it? Like, you set a game plan out for your day and the one thing goes wrong and you just kind of crumble down and you're like, whatever, but you get back up the next day. But has there ever been in those days, let's just say the last six months to a year, that you had that one day where you're like, you know what, fuck it?
Last 6 months to a year. So the one day, so the last 6 months, the only thing is, let me tell you, first off, anybody that thinks I jump up and I'm dying to go run, I'm dying to lift heavy, I'm dying to swim, I'm dying to get on the bike, dude, there is nothing in the world further than the truth, from the truth than that, right? I sit and procrastinate like a motherfucker. Now, I know that massive action is the fucking best way to just kill that. And I've never felt bad once I started, right? Here's the deal. Prepping for Ironman, or in my case, an Ironman and a half Ironman, is a long fucking process. I started riding the bike. So I did like 1,200 miles in December, right? And then I just kind of rolled that straight into prep, right? I mean, and I really didn't have a downtime. So it's funny, the last several weeks have been like the hardest for me, right, to focus. And I've still done it, but I will admittedly have, like, I like, hey, I'm going to go out and do X. And I'm like, hey, I've got to trim it down a little bit, right? I'm exhausted. And it may not be time-wise and distance-wise, but it will be definitely intense-wise, right? Now, I am the first person to say you cannot, first off, I'm not one motherfucker telling people undertrain and overrest and all that bullshit, take it easy. You have to have levels. You've got to be, I mean, intensity's king, right? But there has to be some downtime it doesn't mean walk away. It doesn't mean train one time a fucking week. It doesn't mean, train like a bitch, right? But what it does mean is you cannot be training race pace all the time. So yeah, man, there's been times where I've like, I have to look back. I think I've pretty much gotten every workout in. I mean, but there's been times where I'm like, dude, that was nowhere near what it should have been to be effective. But for me, it was more so, you know what? Show up, right? The 5-minute rule, dude, do it for 5 fucking minutes. And if you don't feel like going, don't. But a lot of times is just put myself in that position to say, you know, like for a run, for example, dude, I told this when Chris and I talked, right? So I fucking went to the doctor last Monday, thought I had testicular cancer. My balls were killing me. Right? This is fucked up. I didn't have fucking testicular cancer. I've got 3 hernias. I've got 2 in the abdominal wall and one in my groin, right? Doctors are like, we got to get this shit fixed, man. I'm like, well, you know, we'll do it November after my races. They're like, what the fuck, dude? That's gotta hurt, right? I've also got a hairline fracture and you'll see I'm not on fucking Twitter lighting this shit up. I got a hairline fracture in my fucking second, what the hell's that thing called? Metatarsal, right? I've got metatarsal on my right foot. Dude, I figured it out back in like October when I put my fucking cycling shoes on and my right one didn't fit right. And it's always fit. So it's hurt, and I've been like, oh, fuck it. I mean, I'm not going to not do it, right? But I just happened to be at the doctor. I'm like, hey, could y'all check my foot too? And they're like, hey, dumbass, that's got to be excruciating. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess. But you know what? Everybody knows what I'm doing for Ironman. I'm carrying the flag for those 2 races, right? So
that's fucking amazing.
I can suffer. I mean, I don't even know. I need to look at the days. I think I'm about fucking 100 days out, give or take, 105 days maybe. I don't know. But I can suffer for 105 more days, and I can suffer for 48 hours. To give a flag to a Gold Star family because their suffering is never going to fucking end, right? I have had that to dip into. Talk about reaching my hand into the cookie jar when I felt like, yeah, fuck, man, I don't want to do this, right? So I've at least shown up, right? Now, have I fucking gone the intensity level that I wanted to go, that I felt like I should have gone? Absolutely fucking not. There's been days, a lot of them stacked up leading up against that freaking before I went to the doctor, thinking my balls are freaking, I've got a lump, I've convinced myself all kind of shit. I got a WebMD and I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, man, I think I got all those fucking symptoms, right? I'm going to be dead in 6 weeks, right? I'm not, I'm good. Yeah, man, that wore on my mind. But again, I still was able to at least fucking show up, man. And I think that is, there's so much fucking power in that. Listen, just fucking get there, right? If you get there and you can't do it, you're just not there psychologically, you're not there emotionally, you're not there physically. Okay, fuck it. But you know what? Putting the rep in of actually showing up, man, I don't have any fucking guilt in that.
No, and what you said, and the reason I asked that question is because I love to show the vulnerability of people that often get put on a pedestal, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that put you on a pedestal because they see you out there calling the fucking platitudes out, saying, don't be a fucking pussy, and out there getting money. But what they don't realize is life is not always fucking perfect. And there's those days of that workout, you don't put the intensity that you know you can put in there. But the thing is, just as you said, you show up anyway. There's been days where I go on a run and I stop a mile into it because I just don't have the energy. I feel like complete shit because I quit. But guess what? The next day I'm like, fuck quitting. Yeah. I go to the gym. I put 5 minutes in. I'm like, I'm just not fucking feeling it today. My body feels like dick. I leave. But I was there. I tried to do it and it didn't work. So there's that point where it's like, oh yeah, people like Boyd and Alex Cherry and like David Goggins, they never have a fucking bad day. You know what I mean? Guess what? Bad days fucking come. You just got to realize it, get back on the fucking horse. And that's where majority of people don't. They don't even, one, they don't even get on the horse. And 2, if they do get on the horse, as soon as that adversity comes, they never get back on the fucking horse again. They just quit. So there is that adversity and that vulnerability that comes with greatness and pushing yourself. But there's those days that it just doesn't happen. The differentiating factor is getting the fuck back on it. So I applaud you for that.
Yeah,
and
man.
I'm glad you don't have testicular cancer.
Yeah, I'm glad too. That's a big part for me. Yeah, man. And it's got like a rubber band effect. Like if I go and I show up, right, I don't have it. I'm like, hey, I showed up. I'm not being a pussy about it because I there's so many people that I didn't feel like it. It's every fucking day, right? If you don't feel like it every fucking day, there's something else to fucking look at, right? You got to look at that, right? But here's the deal. Like you said, dude, I go out and I'll go out and say, hey, I'm going to go out and run fucking 10, right? And I run 2. God damn it. The next day, dude, God forbid, God forbid somebody's telling me, dude, you can't go run today. Well, yeah, bullshit. I'm running. I'm putting it out, putting out, I'm putting it down, right? And there's a difference. One day, an anomaly, man. 2 days, 3 days is a fucking trend, right? So if every day is that, wasn't feeling it today, didn't have the energy today, couldn't get the intensity today, and you see it, you know the shit I'm talking about. Like, dude, then fucking you need to fix something. Something else is fucked up, right? But yeah, man. No, I genuinely, and that's my drive and my motivation right now is what I said. Like, dude, there's people that have lost their fucking daughters and their sons, and that's Gold Star doesn't just mean in combat, it also means fucking suicide, right? So
a lot of that.
Yeah, so yeah, there's 22 a day, right? I just got word yesterday that someone I knew did it, all right? So there's those families will suffer forever, right? Listen, the shit I'm going through, it's physical. It's physical. Guess what? Man, the pride I'll have will last forever. And what I will learn over the next 100, 105, 10, whatever it is, that will last me forever. I know my first 11-month Ironman journey. I don't want to get into my fucking story on that, right? Dude, everything that's happened since has been a fucking joke to me, right? I mean, the stuff that I went through to get from where I was at to crossing that finish line, right? And this one, that's where I'm at on this one. I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Sucks. You know what? Hernias and fucking and a hurt foot doesn't matter, right? I strained my calf yesterday. All right, fuck it. I'm gonna go run today. It'll be all right. People are always like, no, that's your body's way of telling you. No, you know what? My body can tell me I need to rest, I need to relax, I need to recover. I'm telling my fucking body, don't be a pussy. Fuck this. Let's go. I'll beat that motherfucker into recovery.
And for reference, I mean, from David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, he ran a 100-mile ultra, I believe 2 of them before he figured out he had a hole in his lung. So there's that. If you want it bad enough, you're going to fucking go and get it.
No, dude, his first one, he weighed like 260 pounds. And he broke all of his metatarsals. That one, I don't know if he talks about that in Can't Hurt Me or not.
I don't think so.
I think he ran 7 or 10 of his before he found out he had a hole in his heart.
Oh, was it that fucking many?
Yeah. Well, he'd been through buds 3 times by that point. So
look,
man, that's what I said. I was like, let me ask you. The first thing I said, they're like, hey man, let's get you on schedule. And I said, well, let me ask you, am I gonna die? And they're like, what? And they're like, dude, it has to suck. They're like, you have to see those 2. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I see them. And okay, I understand. What's the worst thing that can happen? And they're like, yeah, probably not much more. It could fucking technically rupture and all this, but I mean, but it hurts. I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't need you to tell. I know it. I fucking know. I know it hurts, right? I understand. Yeah. Can it wait till November? We would not advise it, but I was like, well, okay, well, great. I'm fucking doing it, right? So, yeah, man. So, yeah, but I mean, outside of Ironman prep and outside of that, right, dude, I'm like anybody else. I wake up and I've got to fucking and I'm disciplined, and the discipline, I lay back on the discipline. Sometimes I lay back and there's nothing there. So I got to find something, man. It maybe watch Rocky fucking crack Drago and make him bleed or something. I don't know, something obscure, right? Anything else for me, my man?
No, brother, I don't think so, man. This was an absolutely amazing conversation, my friend. I'm happy to finally, this is, for people who don't know, like you just said, like this is the first time we've had an actual conversation besides just trading video DMs and other than that, my friend. And you have blown my expectations. I didn't really have any. I knew you're a fucking high energy guy. And those are the people I gravitate towards because that's the same way I am. I love the people who are out there fucking getting it and not taking shit from anybody for fucking doing it. So I applaud you for that, my friend. And you're a fucking huge inspiration to me. I appreciate you, brother.
I love you. I appreciate that. Thank you for those kind words, man. So real quick, I know how you feel about mediocrity. Tell everybody, A, where they can find you, because I'm going to fire this out to all my followers. And B, tell me a little bit about your project, because you're inviting me on, and I can't wait. I'm fired up.
Yeah, people can find me. I'm mainly on Twitter right now, at Alex W. Cherry. And I also have a podcast, the Reject Mediocrity podcast there. And my whole premise of that podcast is to get the absolute best out of yourselves. I do solo episodes on Monday. I'm starting to do interviews now. I got a great interview coming out this Thursday with Accountability Nation. That motherfucker, dude, big guy, 435 pounds, said, fuck this shit, started losing weight. I talked to him. I got Barefoot Will coming for next week. A lot of amazing guests, and all the guests are going to be fucking people who are going through shit, have gone through shit, and elevating themselves to get more out of their life. Because I think one of the single worst problems in this world right now is people embracing mediocrity and accepting that 35 years and up, you're supposed to feel like shit. Boyd is a living testament right now. That is absolute fucking bullshit. And I am as well. I think that's bullshit. And if more people lived a life of rejecting mediocrity, the world would be a better fucking place for it.
Yeah, man, fuck a bunch of average, dude. It has been an absolute pleasure, man. And look, dude, we're definitely going to do this again. I can't wait to do your thing. We're going to get it fired up, man. I appreciate you, brother. And man, we'll be chatting soon.
Hell yeah, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.